Hey, what's up, guys? So I'll do a video today, continuing the nutrition kind of idea that we were doing before. So I gave a video on protein and how much to take and why you should be taking it and how to kind of fit it into your macros and yeah. So let's go over carbs today. So if you watch the first video, then I kind of went over the breakdown of a calorie and how you have protein, carbs, and fats. So it's the macronutrients within the actual calorie, or the macros is what we call them. So I talked about the protein before. You can hop over to the other video and check that one out. But let's kind of go over carbs. So carbs kind of throw a lot of people off. There's a lot of controversy out there. Should I be eating carbs? Shouldn't I? What kind? Blah 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 blah. I'm going to give you what I do, like I always do. And if you like it, cool. If you don't, go do something else with somebody else. It's all good. So the carbs that I generally eat, I have a very, very structured diet. From bodybuilding, it kind of worked my brain, and the guys that have worked with me, they know that I show up with my little bags of chicken and rice, and it's pretty much what I eat all the time. So my carbs that I like to stick to, that I know my body does really well with, is jasmine rice. You'll see most bodybuilders doing that. It's really good on my body. I don't get a lot of inflammation from it. I don't have a lot of water retention from it. It's very consistent. It's very good. It's easy to prep, and it tastes good, and mix sauces with it and everything. So the other meats go in well with it. Don't get hung up on with the rice. A lot of people, well, there's the long grain and the short grain and all that. It starts to break down into getting too complicated to where if you're not super consistent with it, it's really not going to matter. Rice is basically rice, just a carb. So you can eat those. Potatoes, I've had that even on prep. I've had potatoes put in. It's just more of a pain in the ass for me because you have to weigh it before, and then you cook it, and then it's just kind of, you have to do math, and some of us have been hitting the head a lot. So I'm not big on potatoes, but potatoes are still a good carb. Sweet potatoes, red potatoes, any of that stuff's pretty good. What you don't want to really calculate too much into your diet is a lot of fruit. So there's some people that, oh, carb's a carb, and to a certain extent, yeah. But when it comes to fruit, there's a lot of sugar in that fruit, and it's a very fast digesting. It's just a quick digesting carb, so you're not going to get full off of it. There's a lot of liquid. If you eat it, it's got a lot of sugar in it, so your body's gonna burn through it a lot faster, and you're not gonna feel very full off of it. Breads, some people are twisted up on different breads. It really depends on what you really believe in and what you want to do. I personally don't like eating a lot of breads because I get really inflamed from it. My joints start to hurt. It gets kind of weird, but my diet is so consistent that if I put in just one meal of some type of bread, like if I had toast in the morning instead of my oatmeal, I can tell a bit of a difference, and I'll tinker around with it, and that's what you really should do with these, trying to find where your macros are at. So whenever I'm trying to calculate how many carbs I should be eating at each meal, because I have carbs in every single meal except for my last one, minus a little bit of fruit, it's like 10 carbs. In the morning, I tend to load my carbs up a little bit more. I think my breakfast is like 55 carbs, something like that. It's 2 servings of oatmeal and just a handful of berries. I'm not stepping on stage, so I'm not super anal about making sure my fruit is measured out as much. I do measure out all the rest of my food though. Like I have a little scale, put the bowl in there, dump the whatever I'm putting in there for any kind of macro. But for fruit, a handful of berries and measuring out 85 grams is about the same. But I do measure my oatmeal and my rice and all that other stuff. But and then throughout the day, each meal is very consistent. So my first meal, y'all saw, I think I put my meal plan on there. So the first one is oatmeal and egg whites and whatever, and 2 eggs. But then my meal 2, 3, and 4 exactly the same. They're just 150 grams of jasmine rice and 150 grams of a lean protein, which generally is chicken because I'm fucking lazy. And I just grill like 10 pounds of chicken a week, and then I chop it all up on Sundays, and then I just have a big Tupperware container of chicken and a big Tupperware container of rice, and then I prep my little bags and I take them to work, and I eat them throughout the day. But that comes out to, I think it's in the high 30s, low 40s for carbs, because I'm kind of trying to cut. Generally, if I'm maintaining, I'll do about 50 carbs a meal, depending on what's going on. With this workout getting a little more intense, maybe in phase 2, I might throw in some more carbs depending on how I'm feeling. But right now I'm feeling pretty good during the workouts. During the lifts, I feel good. During the metcons, or they're coming along, but I don't feel like I'm at the end of it. I'm not starving or I'm not feeling super weak or dizzy. Whenever I feel that, that's when I generally start putting in more carbs or start tinkering on my fat a little bit if I'm just starving throughout the meals. But you'll feel it at the end of your workout if you're just exhausted and then you start to feel kind of dizzy, lightheaded, not because you're overheated, but just because you're almost like craving sugar or something like that. Then generally it's just because you don't have enough carbs in your diet, and you can mess around with that, and then you'll start to feel a little bit better, and then you're right there. Oatmeal was the other one, the other carb that I take in. So you can see I don't take in a lot of different types of carbs. But you need to find a number of set amount of how many carbs you want to take in, depending on your body type. Your gender is a big deal, how much you can take. Factor that in, and then just divide it up. And then the last meal, I don't like taking carbs in on the last meal. Some people do, especially if you're working out early in the morning, it gives you that energy. But whenever you're thinking about taking in more carbs or less carbs or anything like that, whatever you eat the day before is what you're really going to be burning the next day. So people will have like a high carb day or a low carb day, or they start messing with stuff. But be careful with that, because if you have a high training day the next day and you have a low carb day the day before that, you're not really going to have as much energy, and it's going to kind of mess you up. Your best bet is just stay as consistent as possible, and then as you're being consistent and you're working through these meal plans, if you keep it exactly the same for at least 3 or 4 weeks, no variations whatsoever, measuring out all your food, not a handful of, I know I said a handful of berries, but when you get into like the proteins and stuff like that, if you're just kind of scooping and guessing, you're not going to be hitting the consistency you need to hit, because if you change per gram of what you're taking in for rice, it's not the same throughout the whole day, then your body doesn't get that consistency. And once your body gets that consistency and knows when it's going to be fed and how it's going to be fed, and it works better for you, and then it allows you to tinker around with that kind of stuff. So set up, like, say if you're just a 200-pound dude or whatever, start off with 50, 40 carbs a meal. However, whatever that is that you want to set a number. Don't get crazy with like 100 carbs per meal unless you're just really skinny dude and you're trying to just put on some size. But if you're just an average body type, like myself, you just kind of, you don't really have a high metabolism, but you still have like maybe a little bit of muscle tone, so your body burns a little more calories. And in the workouts we're doing, get around 40, 50 carbs a meal, stack it in there. It's going to be around 150, 160 grams of rice. And then tinker around with that. Do that for a few weeks. If you don't see any what you're looking for, like say you're trying to lose some body weight or some body fat, and you don't see that, but you still feel really good in your workouts, or you feel super, super full all the time, then take away, 20 grams per meal or 20 grams out of one meal or whatever it is, but just stay consistent with how you're doing it. And then you should be thinking about putting something down you should be thinking about putting food in your mouth every 3 hours. So you wake up, have breakfast, 3 hours from there you're eating, 3 hours from there you're eating, 3 hours you're eating. And I know a lot of the schedules people that have, you can't really accommodate that. That's whenever like protein bars kind of come into hand, or like little kind of snacks and stuff like that. If you bounce off to the side, I can kind of give you some ideas on that. It makes it a little harder. It's not as efficient, but it's still like a bag of pretzels and like a protein shake or something like that. However you can keep it consistent. We're just really looking at the macros, but we want to try to keep the food to whole foods. You don't want to really start slamming down a bunch of like goldfish and counting that as a carb, because your body just doesn't process it as well. So some people like to stay to the outside of the grocery store kind of thing, like don't go to the middle. So then it's all the whole foods. So then you have like, they always keep the vegetables and all this stuff on the outside and the meats and stuff like that. But then once you get into the middle, that's when they got your little ho-hos and your little snacky snacks. So that's the part you kind of want to stay away from, those type of carbs. If you have to do it because you just don't have time, that's fine. But if you can kind of cram it in there to be able to eat the same type of carbs and keep them whole, like just the 2 carbs that I just basically told you about are pretty good. And then the sauces are going to be the thing that really help you stay consistent with that. So I can tell you guys what I take. So it's I think it's Frank's buffalo sauce. Doesn't have any fat in it, doesn't have any sugar, any carbs. It's got some sodium. Let me just show you sodium. You guys should be taking in a lot of sodium anyway, because it's friggin' hot outside, and you guys should be sweating your asses off when you're doing these workouts. I do low sodium soy sauce, just because I don't want that much sodium, because I'll eat it 3 times a day, and you're taking in like 2,000 milligrams of sodium, and that's kind of ridiculous per meal. But But I still salt my meals too. So I'll put either a little bit of sea salt on there, or I'll do iodine salt. I really don't care either way. It's you get benefits from both of them. Your body needs salt, especially with the workouts we're doing. Sugar-free barbecue sauce. You'll see that stuff out there. I think it's Hughes or something like that. It's some picture of some dude, and it says sugar-free on it. It's pretty good. They have like mesquite and different flavors and stuff like that. What other sauces? Salsa, pico, stuff like that. Yeah, that's fine. Throw that stuff in there. It just mixes stuff up and helps you be able to stay consistent with it. And just watch out for the fat on the especially the buffalo sauce. Most of them are cut with like butter and shit. So watch out for the sauces because they can add a lot of carbs and a lot of fat to your diet that you don't even see coming in. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, what the hell? This program or this meal plan isn't working. What am I doing wrong? And then a lot of times you go down, well, what kind of sauces are you eating? No, I'm just eating barbecue sauce. And you look at the barbecue sauce and it's got like 15 grams of sugar, and you're pouring that shit on every single meal, and it's kind of just stacking up over the 3-4 meals that you're eating a day. But yeah, so I hope the carb thing kind of cleared it up a little bit. If I confuse some people, let me know. If you want a little more in depth, let me know. I can break it down a little bit more. I'm trying to keep it kind of on the novice level so that it doesn't confuse or people get lost in it a little bit. But yeah, hope that helped out. I'll talk to you guys later.